Let's cross to Kyiv now. Speak to our correspondent, Gulliver Cragg. Hello to you, Gulliver. What more do we know about the attacks overnight?
Well, first of all, I could give you the very latest news, which is that there has been an explosion at the port of Berdyansk, which is on the occupied part of Zaporizhia region. The Ukrainian authorities in exile from Berdyansk are claiming that Russian ships that had come to take away, as they put it, stolen grain and industrial produce from that port were now fleeing the area as a result of that explosion. This happens from time to time. It's believed to be the Ukrainians shelling Russian-occupied parts of their territory. Meanwhile, staying in Ukraine overnight, there was yet another attempted attack on the capital, Kyiv. This time, though, it appears that there's only minimal damage in the capital itself. More than a dozen drones and rockets were apparently intercepted and shot down by the air defences. 2 people are reported to have been injured, though, outside Kyiv, but in the Kyiv region. Now moving on to these attacks in Russia, which do seem to be intensifying. As you said, the governor of Belgorod region says that 2 civilians have been killed there. This is accompanied by attacks further into Russia, deeper into Russia. The Ukrainians do not take responsibility for them. We don't know who's carrying these attacks out, but in particular, an oil refinery in the Smolensk region has been targeted. The authorities there say, though, that there were no major fires and no damage. And a couple of other Russian regions have been attacked by what appear to be drones as well. Meanwhile, there's this ground incursion ongoing, carried out by the Russian Volunteer Corps, who are pro-Ukrainian, anti-Putin Russian paramilitaries. The level of coordination that they have with the Ukrainian authorities is a subject of much discussion here, but they say that they are pursuing a new ground incursion, and there has been reported fighting in villages close to the Ukrainian border, just inside Russia.
And Gulliver, how do Ukrainians feel about these attacks in Russia? There's been an increase of them.
Yes, I think there's almost universal approval of attacks that target military facilities or oil depots, things like that, that can obviously be defined as military targets. In terms of attacks closer to populated areas that could potentially cause civilian casualties, there are somewhat mixed feelings. Yesterday, at the scene of where debris fell in Kyiv and killed 3 people, I asked people what they thought about it, and some were saying, well, this is just going to be used by the Russians in order to increase support and step up their military campaign against Ukrainians, thinking it's not a very good idea. But I think more people seem to think that it is actually useful in a way for the Russians to feel afraid, for the Russians to understand what war is. And there's a certain amount of satisfaction among Ukrainians to see that the Russians are perhaps feeling similar fears and anxieties to what they've been feeling so much over these last 15 months or so.
All right, Gulliver, thank you very much. Gulliver Cragg reporting from Kyiv.